They committed their crimes while high on drugs, but we discovered some inmates are still getting their fix behind bars. A Cairo 7 investigation uncovered felons at the Washington Corrections Center for Women tested positive for illegal drugs hundreds of times. I'm Dave Wagner.
And I'm Monique Minglavin. Now, Amy Clancy started looking into this after being tipped off by a worker at the prison who called it an epidemic drug problem. She joins us now with the results. And Amy, how big is this problem?
Well, since early 2010, these and other inmates at Purdy have tested positive for illegal narcotics 262 times, despite the fact they're all in a secure prison facility. Look closely at this video a Department of Corrections source gave to Cairo 7. That's an inmate at the Monroe Correctional Complex collecting multiple bundles of illegal drugs that someone on the outside threw over the facility's fence last month. It's just one of the ways illegal narcotics are finding their way into the hands of inmates, many who were high at the time they committed their crimes. Inmates like Satira Hutchinson at the Washington Corrections Center for Women at Purdy. During her time here, she's tested positive for a psychoactive narcotic, an opioid, and meth multiple times. All 5 positive drug tests happened within a 16-month span.
I can't imagine how somebody could be obtaining these drugs and under the noses of the prison officials.
Paul, who didn't want us to use his last name, was one of Hutchinson's victims. She broke into his North Seattle home and took a brand new computer monitor still in its box. Hutchinson also has multiple prior convictions and 5 drug offenses. With her long record of drug abuse, Paul is skeptical her time at Purdy will help transform her into a law-abiding citizen.
I don't think she has any intentions of becoming rehabilitated. Is it all her fault? I don't know. Now it makes it sound like maybe DOC is enabling her to do this.
Danielle Cannon is another inmate at Purdy whose drug use continues while she is in prison. DOC records show Cannon tested positive for meth 5 times in less than 2 years and tested positive for opiates 3 times. Her mother was caught passing her meth and heroin during a visit to Purdy in 2014. But even though the red flag was raised multiple times, Cannon again tested positive for amphetamines, meth, and opiates twice, just a few months after her mom was caught bringing in drugs. We obtained DOC documents and discovered 262 times since the beginning of 2010, inmates have tested positive for banned substances. Some of the tests were done at random, others were done after suspicions were raised.
As diligent as our staff are, some drugs can get through.
Steve Sinclair is the Assistant Secretary of Prisons. How are the same people getting access to drugs time after time after time if they're testing positive? I
couldn't answer the question of how are they getting access. Certainly if we knew, we would stop it all, but we don't. Know that we offer a wide range of chemical dependency treatment.
That chemical dependency treatment can be considered mandatory for some repeat offenders. Failure to participate can result in a serious infraction. Still, some inmates continue to test positive multiple times. The DOC told us even though they're incarcerated, inmates at Purdy are not watched around the clock.
They're not necessarily surveilled 24/7.
Prison records show 187 women are responsible for all 262 positive drug tests. So, many inmates tested positive multiple times, including one that caught my eye, the woman who killed a Seattle police officer. Some of these names I recognize very well. One of them being Mary Jane Rivas. She's the one that killed Seattle police officer Lito Barber, and she was one of the people who tested positive. And I can tell you, his family's not thrilled. Mary Jane Rivas was high on cocaine when she drove a stolen vehicle into the cruiser of Seattle police officer Joselito Barber, killing the young rookie back in 2006. At the time, Rivas had just been released from prison for a drug-related offense 10 days earlier. 2 years ago, when she was about halfway through her more than 20-year prison sentence at Purdy, Rivas tested positive for benzos, Suboxone, and synthetic marijuana known as spice. We showed those test results to Officer Barber's family.
She's getting drugs, she's not getting help, and potentially she'll come out of there the same person she was when she came out and killed Lito.
I wanted to choose to believe in the system so that when she came out, that she would be a better person in society and hopefully prevent this from happening to somebody else.
The man who helped put Rivas and so many of these others behind bars is also frustrated.
I'm disappointed as a consumer of DOC that it seems to be so easy to get drugs in there. It is a big concern. It should be a big concern for the community that when we send people to prison, they continue their addictions even after, as in this case, their addiction has killed somebody.
Now, since our source inside Purdy first asked us to dig into this issue, there is a new superintendent at the women's prison, and Steve Sinclair is hopeful she'll help curb the drug use there, which Sinclair said isn't any worse at Purdy than it is at every other DOC facility.
Wow. Well, we often know that crimes and drugs go hand in hand. So do you have any sort of idea how many inmates need help with substance abuse?
The DOC estimates about 73% of inmates within the DOC need some sort of moderate or severe substance abuse treatment.
Yeah, and obviously they're getting drugs beyond that.
Yes, they are.
Not necessarily drug help, but drugs inside the prison. All right. Well.